When it comes to trust in various professions, Australia is no exception. We often find ourselves wondering which jobs are viewed with the most skepticism and why. Understanding this trust gap is crucial as it affects not only how we perceive certain occupations, but also the professionals who work in them. So stick around and we'll count down some of Australia's most distrusted professions from 10 all the way to number 1.
Can you hear the thunder? Oh, you better run, you better take cover. Oh.
Distrust in certain jobs can have serious implications. It can lead to a lack of respect for the profession as a whole, making it difficult for professionals to gain the recognition that they deserve. So who do we trust the least when it comes to professionals? Let's find out with number 10. Kicking the list off with a bit of a surprise, as this is one I would not have thought would have been on here. Australia is home to more than 370,000 aged care workers, and the role that they play is vital when it comes to caring for our elderly population. That's a population, by the way, which is expected to double by 2050. So why are they seen as distrusted? When an older person is moved into an aged care facility, it is usually because of their health needs being too complex for family or partners to manage at home. Quality care is built on relationships, and it takes time to build that. Unfortunately, staffing shortages mean that the approach to aged care can at times resemble a production line. And that leads to elderly residents and families complaining about the quality of care, difficulty in attracting new staff to fill the shortage, and corners being cut to try to keep up with deadlines. Of course, there have also been some horror stories coming out of aged care facilities for years that haven't helped matters either.
I produced footage of Mum in her own mess in her bed. She was left for up to 6 hours.
A survey in 2021 showed that 40% of nursing home residents have experienced some form of abuse, whether that be physical, mental, or financial. I will add that the vast majority of aged care workers are wonderfully caring individuals working in what is an extremely challenging industry. Coming in at number 9, mortgage brokers. Now, our homes are typically the largest asset that we will own in our lifetimes, and unless you were born with a very large silver spoon in your mouth, chances are you either used a bank or a mortgage broker to finance the purchase. Mortgage brokers now account for 2/3 of all Australian mortgages, and it's easy to understand why. Save the time and the hassle out of shopping rates at various banks and go to someone who has access to most of them at their fingertips. So most of the hate towards the industry comes from the commissions and the practice of upselling products. Taking a do you want fries type sales approach when you were just trying to buy your dreamed home is one sure way to get me on your bad side, that's for sure. Overpromising on delivery and then failing to meet deadlines, not returning phone calls or emails, not wanting to complete pre-approvals, not fully explaining the details of the loan, or properly divulging the fees, terms, and charges of the mortgage. Yep, all pretty good reasons to not think too highly of most of these guys. Greasing their way into number 8, funds managers and bankers. Now, I'll admit, things are a tad better now than the good old days when bankers were the real cowboys, selling unwanted products to meet ever-increasing bank targets, not divulging that they had opened an account or sold a credit card insurance policy without the client knowing. Or maybe some of the banks still do this. Then there's a lack of support the banks show to victims of fraud. Now, HSBC Australia is currently involved in legal action taken by ASIC for failing to correctly respond to 950 reports of customers who lost a combined $23 million over a 6-month period due to unauthorized transactions. Now, you want your bank, who you entrust with your money, to support you, not treat you as the criminal or drop you when you become a victim. Fund managers also get a bad rep, and much of that has again to do with sales and commission. The more unscrupulous operators thinking with their wallets rather than what is best for the client. A lack of explaining, not following up, not completing adequate risk assessments all play a part in why this industry is untrusted. Look who's up next at number 7, lawyers. I must admit, I am kind of surprised that this one was not even higher on the list. Ever heard this one? When lawyers die, why don't vultures eat them? Professional courtesy. There's rich lawyers, ambulance chasers, unethical lawyers, the pit bull, the TV lawyer whose face is everywhere, and then there's the ghost lawyer, the one that can never be reached by phone or by email. Now, lawyers are unpopular for several reasons, many of which they can control themselves, and some, like the inherent uncertainty of an outcome, they can't. There is a widely held view that lawyers are difficult and create problems, not solutions. Cost and perceived lack of value are common complaints levelled against lawyers in both the corporate and the retail segments of the market. Lawyers suffer from a distribution problem too. There's too many lawyers that are vying for the high-end corporate work, and too few of them are providing affordable services to the millions of potential clients who need them. Look out, it's the multi-million-dollar people up next at number 6, senior executives. Best roll out the red carpet for these guys. I'm talking anything from CEOs to state and area managers, board members, etc. You know, the ones that make the decisions that affect thousands of their employees' lives, many of whom they've never actually met or been at the coalface themselves and wouldn't actually know how to do the work they're asking people to do, all in an effort of cutting costs, raising dividends, and keeping their own jobs safe in the process.
You're a punctual guy. You know the importance of being here right at 6 a.m., which is what leads me to think that there must be something wrong with the internal clock on our security system.
May have been a minute late.
Well, no, but according to this, you were 2 minutes late. So either you're a liar or this system is off by a full minute.
There are a few reasons why people feel the way they do about executives and senior leadership. Not treating employees like human beings, having completely unrealistic expectations, failing to see their own shortcomings, punishing first and then asking questions, and being a bully or being dishonest and inauthentic. What are we selling at number 5? It's advertising executives. Now, once upon a time, there was very little marketing needed. If you were the village blacksmith, a healer, people came to you. If you were a farmer or a craft person, the extent of your marketing was going to market and literally showing up at the marketplace. After watching the tobacco industry use fake science to resist efforts to make public the link between smoking and cancer, you can see why people are beyond skeptical about marketing. Practices like making promises that cannot be guaranteed, and then using fine print in the money-back guarantee that effectively makes it impossible to actually get a refund. Or intimating that someone isn't committed to their own success or other kinds of personal shortcomings, and that the evidence for that is not signing up for a particular program that's being promoted. And before we get to number 4, let me just go onto Instagram for a minute, Facebook, Twitter. Hey, social media influencers. They are the 4th least trusted occupation in Australia. Have you ever found yourself scrolling through your social media feed and stumbling upon someone promoting a product, sharing their life experiences? Well, that's an influencer. And social media influencers, they became a thing during the late 2000s and early 2010s as social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter gained popularity. Individuals started to gain influence over their audiences, and these influencers who create content around various niches such as fashion, beauty, travel, or fitness have since become powerful marketing tools for all types of different brands. Rolling Stone magazine published a list of the 25 most influential creators for 2024. I'm a little embarrassed to admit I've only actually heard of one of them. Influencers typically rise to fame by sharing intimate details about their life, but later impose boundaries to protect their privacy and their mental health. And many of the reasons why influencers fall into the hated category are similar to those of marketing people. Deceptive practices can be common in this cutthroat industry. Getting ready to sign those contracts at number 3, it's real estate agents. Now, some people think they're just sleazy salesmen, out to get your money at any cost. Others think they're an unnecessary expense who provide little value to the process of buying or selling a home, and then others compare them to used car salesmen. With huge amounts of money changing hands, there's often a question as to who sets the prices and how. What's more, there's often a lack of transparency regarding various operations which can make many agent decisions appear arbitrary and motivated solely by profit. Practices like overvaluing a property to win you as a client, bending the truth when it comes to the number of viewings expected, etc. So there are 3 points listed as the biggest complaints about real estate agents. Lying. Have you ever inquired about a listing with incredible photos only to go and see it and find a different, much less impressive house or unit? Bait and switch tactics are a perfect example of how some agents immediately alienate a potential client from the get-go. Then there's laziness. Now, laziness is a huge turnoff, whether it's not having the information you asked for, not being on time and available for appointments, not sending listings that fit your criteria, or not negotiating hard enough for you in the first place. And the third point is going MIA. No, not going to Miami, but going missing. In any industry, but especially in real estate, staying in touch with clients and maintaining good communication is everything. Coming in at number 2 of our least trusted professions list, journalists. I tried to dig a little bit deeper onto this one to try and find out why this one was ranked so poorly. And I came across it being described as rude, snarky, impatient, petty, disrespectful, and entitled. Doesn't sound too good so far, right? Vultures scanning for corpses, dirt diggers, word twisters, and sensationalists. Okay then, I think I got the picture. Australia ranks number 26 in the world for freedom of the press, with bastions of free speech like Iran, North Korea, and China all ranking at the bottom of the 180 countries list. So why the hate? Journalism is supposed to be about reporting the facts. What happened, where it happened, and who was involved. Giving the details as straight up as possible with as little bias as possible as well. Nowadays, no mainstream news is like this. The facts get lost and they're trying to push their own agendas. Politics has entered into the fray as well, where the facts should be the only purpose. Journalists in many ways have become just like social media influencers, pushing an agenda that their corporate watchdogs are also towing. So what is the most detested profession in Australia? Who is it that we trust the least? It should really come as no surprise that politicians are taking home the number 1 mantle. In Australia, we have compulsory voting. We should also make it compulsory that a politician who is running for office is doing so for the betterment of the country, not for the betterment of themselves or their power brokers and mates. Now, I spent 15 years living in Canberra, working in the private sector, but I came across more than my fair share of career politicians, including a couple of them who got to the very top of the tree. The vast majority that I dealt with had something very similar in common: arrogance and a heightened sense of self over others. Now, don't get me wrong. You certainly need to have thick skin to be in public office with the amount of mudslinging that goes on, but there is an awfully large amount of hot air coming out of Canberra, and it's not coming from the balloon festival out on Lake Burley Griffin. Less than 30% of people trust the federal government, regardless of who is in power, with the top 3 reasons being a lack of accountability and broken promises, a failure to act on the matters that really matter, and the fact that big business and trade unions have too much power over the government. Delving deeper, I find that the reasons for these professions being distrusted are complex and multifaceted. Some people have had negative experiences in the past with certain professions like lawyers or real estate agents, while others believe they're simply trying to take advantage of them or are only in it for themselves. Thanks for joining me on this journey to uncover Australia's most distrusted professions. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with the results, or do you think another profession should have made this list as well? Thanks for joining me on From Down Under to Down South. I'll catch you again next time. Hooroo, mateys.